like one of my very favorite things to talk about. I like talking about right to buy mortgages simply because there are so many people that don't understand how they work. They don't understand that they can actually use their deposit as the discount. They don't understand how long it takes, the top mistakes, or what not to do. So today, I'm going to break all of that down. I'm going to explain everything that you need to know to get a right to buy mortgage. I'll talk you through the entire mortgage process, and I'm going to make sure that you understand this in a way that you'll be able to move forward in strength, move forward in understanding, and make sure you watch to the end because everything that I'm going to say is very important and is going to help you through your right to buy or right to acquire mortgage process. Hi, I'm Anthony Lindsay, and I make these videos to help you understand various parts of getting a mortgage, understanding finance, and ensuring that you can make informed decisions. Remember, your property may be at risk if you don't keep up the repayments on your mortgage. So, the top mistakes that people make when getting a right to buy mortgage or getting any mortgage in general is they wait until they think they're ready. So when they think they're ready, that's when they actually start the process. You should never do that. Always speak to a mortgage broker at least 6 months in advance of when you think you're ready. As far as right to buy mortgages, a big mistake that people make is they don't think through who needs to be on the application. And I'll get into a little bit more detail about that as we move forward. You're dealing with a council. So keep in mind that you do need to follow up. Councils aren't always the most efficient people, and therefore you'll need to make sure that you're on top of things and that they are working at a pace. Some people, when getting a mortgage, don't speak to a mortgage broker. I was in finance or have been in finance for over 30 years. And it wasn't until quite late in my journey where I actually realized that everybody should go to a mortgage broker, not just people that have issues. The great thing about using a mortgage broker is that you are always going to have the best guidance, support, and advice. You'll also have choice because mortgage brokers don't just work with one lender. So when you go directly to your bank, you only have the options that that one individual bank can offer you, and therefore you don't have choice. A mortgage broker is going to work with a range of different lenders who can support you regardless of your circumstances. And lastly, some people do not ask questions. You should always ask questions and make sure that you understand the entire process and that you are able to feel comfortable with the people that you're working with. We do have someone joining. Let me just put that on there. Okay, so make sure that you follow the process, make sure that you ask questions, and those are the top mistakes that people tend to make when getting a right to buy mortgage. I'm going to explain the right to buy mortgage process. I'll also talk about the mortgage process in general. However, we're here to talk about right to buy mortgages. So, the first thing that you want to do is speak to your counsel. You want to understand if you qualify for a right to buy discount or a right to acquire discount. And you're going to want to make sure that you understand the timelines that you can position yourself properly. I would say the next thing to do, even before you get a response on your right to buy application, your very next thing to do is to speak to a mortgage broker. And this is because the mortgage broker will be able to identify things that may be problematic when you are ready to start the process. If you wait until you're ready, then there might be some things that you miss out on. You're then going to complete the right to buy application. This is where you formally apply for the right to buy discount. You have nothing to lose. So I would say if you want to buy your right to buy property or right to acquire and you qualify after speaking to the council, make sure you fill in that application. You'll then receive your Section 125 offering offer from the mortgage broker. But this is why I said you should speak to the mortgage broker before you get to that stage, because it will give you time to clean up anything that you need to clean up or might be problematic with your mortgage. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I've been in finance for over 30 years. And so when you come to me, you're able to get more than just a mortgage. I'll be able to give you practical advice and support. I make these videos that you can be an informed consumer. I'm not an internet influencer. I'm not someone that does a 15-second video and um, then you feel like you understand everything. When it comes to finance, most things are quite complicated when you get into the details. Now, the overall process or the structure of the item might be straightforward, but each individual is very unique. Each mortgage is very unique. So it's important that you speak to someone that you know, that you trust, and that can answer your questions. And I usually tell people don't pay for advice, don't pay to get information, but do speak to a broker. Going on YouTube or just looking at ChatGPT or AI is not going to give you the specific answers that you need in order to get the mortgage that you want. Who should be on the mortgage application? We're going to talk through who should be on your mortgage application when getting a mortgage. Make sure you watch all the way until the end because everything that I'll be explaining will depend on the things that I've discussed before. So it's important that you understand these videos are not here to give legal advice, tax advice, or financial advice. They're here to explain processes. My name's Anthony Lindsay. I'll be right back. Make sure you like and subscribe if you are finding this video useful. So, who should be on the mortgage application? I ask this question because it does matter. Whoever's on the mortgage application or on the right to buy letter needs to match the mortgage and vice versa. So, you can't apply for a right to buy or a right to acquire and just have your name on it, but then want to add other people to the mortgage application. They have to match. And the reason why this is important is because once you've had your offer accepted from the council, you're going to need a mortgage. The first thing that I'm going to ask a client if I'm doing a right to buy or right to acquire is, do the names on the RTB letter match the names that will be on the mortgage? And this is important when it comes to income because you might not have enough income to be able to support the mortgage amount. You may need to add other people to support that. So if you've already done the right to buy application and you haven't considered how much money you're going to need to support the mortgage, then it may be too late at that point. I would recommend have a conversation with your family. If you have children that are eligible to be on the application, have the conversation. If you know that they're going to be living at home for the next, 5, 7 years, then it may make sense to add them to the application. But it is a very individual and personal decision. But you do need to understand that before you complete the application. So if you're on benefits, the other thing that you will need to keep in mind is some of the benefits that you're receiving as a council tenant, you may not qualify for when you get the mortgage. So always speak to your mortgage broker. We will review your income. We'll review what you'll still be eligible for when you get the mortgage, and we'll be able to tell you what parts of your income, if you're on benefits, are available to be used as part of your affordability when getting the mortgage. So, who's on the application is super important. Don't guess, always use the math to guide your decision. Gather your documents. Always gather your documents before you get started. And the reason why I say that is this is the top reason that delays most mortgage applications. It's not the lender, it's not the solicitor, and it certainly won't be me. It's usually that clients are struggling to gather the application documents. The first thing that you know you're going to need is 3 months bank statements. So 3 months bank statements. Most recent 3 months bank statement. The other thing to keep in mind with that is if you use multiple accounts, so if you transfer money between personal accounts in order to manage your finances each month, you'll need each of those accounts. So if your salary goes into account A and then you transfer some of that money into account B for your daily spend, you're going to need to provide both sets of bank accounts. Also, banks don't like to see lots of transfers in and out from random people. So make sure you tidy up your bank statements. They're going to need 3 months pay slips. Some people get paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. Either way, you need 3 months of the most recent pay slips. So you're always going to need the most recent 3 months. In a lot of cases, especially with nurses, it's good to provide a P60. So if you're someone who does a lot of overtime and it impacts what your base salary is, then you should provide your P60. For a council right to buy or council right to acquire, the lender is usually going to need to see 12 months of your rent payments. So that will be your rent statement as provided by the council. A lot of councils do have portals or apps where you can go in and download your last 12 months worth of rent payments. It does need to be on letterhead. If you don't have an app or a portal or a website where you can download it, or you would need to get an email from the council on letterhead with a contact name. It's always going to come down to credit, income, and deposit. So when you're gathering your documents, some of the things that you're going to need are going to be related to your credit. You also need proof of your address, which to a degree is related to your credit. I talk about it all the time, but I'm going to go through it quickly. The core of any mortgage comes down to what I refer to as SID, which is credit, income, and deposit. If you can tidy these things up and master these three elements, it will make your mortgage process a lot easier. I wrote a book a few years ago called A Mortgage is a Really Big Loan. And I explain not only mortgages, but I also explain other basic financial pieces of literacy that you can be a better informed consumer. So your credit, your income, and your deposit are going to be vital and going to be key to getting a mortgage at the very best rate that you qualify for. Let's start with your credit. I'm going to do this really quickly because I do it all the time. So, your credit, get your credit report. You should, as a rule, look at your credit at least once a year. And I don't mean just your Equifax or just your Experian or just your TransUnion. Look at the combined report, which you can get from checkmyfile.com. The reason why I suggest checkmyfile.com is because it's going to show you searches, it's going to show your address if you're on the voters roll, it's going to give you a comprehensive overview of your credit position. And notice I say your credit profile and not your credit score. It's not just about your credit score. Your credit profile is how you make your payments. If you've had any late payments, missed payments, CCJs. By checking your credit report at least once a year, I'd recommend every 6 months. If there's anything on there that shouldn't be there, you can get it resolved. But certainly, before you start the mortgage process, make sure that your credit report is reflecting accurate information. Get it from checkmyfile.com. Stop applying for new credit. Stop applying for new credit. If you continually apply for new pieces of credit, you will find that your credit score, in most cases, will drop. Clear small balances. It's better to have a lower deposit and no outgoings than to have a higher deposit and you owe bits and pieces to different credit card companies. Be honest about what's there. I learned this after being in banking for over 30 years. If it isn't documented, it didn't happen. So, conversely, if it is documented, it did happen. If your credit report reflects something, then that's what the lender is going to assume is correct. If there's an error or a mistake on your credit report, make sure you get it resolved because the credit reference agency is only going to display what they believe to be correct. So if there's something incorrect, it's your responsibility to resolve it. Your income, know your employment status. If I speak to 10 clients, it's very rare that all 10 of them actually know what their base salary is. So know what your base salary is. So your base salary is usually reflected on your employment contract. Lenders are going to start with your base salary. So they may not include overtime, bonus, or commission. So we're going to do the initial calculation for your right to buy mortgage based on your base salary. If you do provide a P60 and we can demonstrate that your actual income is higher than what's on your contractual statement, contractual contract, because you do a lot of overtime, we can adjust for that. But we'll start with your base salary. So make sure you know your employment status. Are you self-employed, full-time employed, contract, part-time, casual? We're going to need to know that. Are you on probation? Lenders don't lend all the time if someone's on probation. So I should say it like this. Some lenders will not lend to you while you're on probation. Others will lend with just an offer letter. What does HMRC say? So check what HMRC says your annual income was for the previous year. You can see that on your P60. And don't just assume that you'll be able to use a second job for income. A second job income is not always included at 100% when assessing your affordability. So that's why you want to speak to a mortgage broker well in advance of when you're actually ready. And lastly, your deposit. How you raise the money for your mortgage is important. So if you're doing a right to buy purchase and a right to buy mortgage, you can use the discount as your deposit. And this is great news. And a lot of people don't know this. You can use the discount as your deposit in 95% of all of the right to buy mortgages that I do, and I do quite a lot of them, in 95% of those cases, people don't pay anything towards the deposit. They just use the discount. Prior to November of 2024, discounts were huge. They have gone down since then. However, it's still worth getting a right to buy mortgage and using the discount as the deposit. You may want to supplement that. So let's just say you still don't have the affordability even after the council right to buy discount, maybe because you've applied after November 2024. If that's the case, you may need to boost your deposit with money out of your pocket. So you might be getting gifted deposit. It might be from savings. You might need to do that to match the affordability. So we're going to need to understand where the money came from. We need to track the source. Banks do need to do anti-money laundering and understand where the money comes from. Good news, you don't pay that deposit out of your bank account until about 2 weeks before you get your keys. Or if you're a right to buy customer, then you're already living there. But the money doesn't come out of your account until about 2 weeks before the mortgage completes. And remember, a lot of banks use open banking, so they'll find it a little bit easier to track the source of your deposit because they'll be able to see your bank account. And this way, they may not need to have the 3 months provided to them. They may be able to do that through open banking. So your credit, your income, and your deposit are vital parts of not only a right to buy mortgage, but any kind of mortgage that you're doing. Here are the costs that people don't consider. I'm going to be talking through some of the things that people forget about when they're getting a mortgage. So even if you're using the right to buy discount as your deposit, there are going to be some other costs. I'm going to just do a quick break and then I'll be right back and I'm going to explain the costs that people don't consider. Make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you follow me on my other social media platforms. And if you want to speak to me, I'm a real person. I'm not an internet influencer. I'm just someone who likes to explain how mortgages work, that people can make better decisions and make informed decisions. So the things that people don't consider when they're getting a mortgage, these are the top things that people forget about. Valuation fee, valuation, not survey. So when you're purchasing your right to buy property, although the council will have given you a valuation, the lender needs to agree with that valuation. So some lenders do charge for the valuation. Depending on the price of the property, you may pay a valuation fee. Some lenders actually do that as an incentive. Solicitor's fees. You will need a solicitor. At the very beginning of the process, if you work with me, I will introduce you to two solicitors. I'll introduce you to the top rated solicitors for the property type that you are looking to purchase, and I'll give you an alternative solicitor. Best advice, always start having the conversations with solicitors early. Find a solicitor that you are comfortable with, someone that works the way that you want them to work and will answer your questions. Some clients don't need that much hand holding. Others need a lot of hand holding. Either way, find a solicitor that meets your needs. If you can't ask your solicitor questions and feel comfortable and confident that they're giving you the right answers, then you shouldn't be working with them. Although I will refer you to two solicitors, you should go and search, do your due diligence, and find a solicitor that matches your needs, but don't shop based on price. Don't shop based on price. Shop based on service. So check their reviews because you don't want a solicitor that's going to hold up your deal or that's not going to do a thorough job. Broker fees. I do charge fees, but the good news is I don't charge fees in advance. Any fees that you pay to my firm are always paid after I've delivered the service. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I can go directly to my bank. Yes, you can. But as I said, if you go directly to your bank, you're not getting choice. You're not getting Saturday and evening appointments. You're not getting the support that a lot of people need, especially when getting a right to buy mortgage and product fees. So when you get the mortgage, the actual mortgage is a product, and some lenders actually charge for that product. You can add that fee to the mortgage, so you don't have to pay it out of your pocket, but it is a fee that is paid, and you need to consider these fees. I, as a matter of practice, when I'm getting started with a client, I'll give them a list of things that they may have to pay, that they can do the math, they can understand how much money they actually need to have, even if they're using the discount as the deposit. Don't be the delay. I can't say this enough. Don't be the delay. Most mortgages move fairly quickly. The biggest delay is usually the client themselves. So, this is what happens. Client calls me. I've just got my right to buy letter. The council's given me 12 weeks or whatever to get my offer. I need it done today. I have the interview with them. I tell them what I need from them, and then I don't hear back from them for 3 weeks. I know that life happens, and I know that quite often people expect things to take a long time. Therefore, they're not ready when someone is telling them that we can move quickly. But don't be the delay. So set time aside to complete the fact find. Remember, a mortgage is a huge commitment. So you have to read the documents, you have to understand the documents, which is one of the benefits of working with a mortgage broker. They can give you that assistance. But as far as the fact find and the demographic information, that's all on you. It should take 15 to 30 minutes to complete a fact find because all of the information and all of the questions are about you and your lifestyle. So they'll ask questions like your date of birth, how long have you been at your address? One of the reasons why I love right to buy mortgages is because 9 times out of 10, the person's been living there at least 10 years. So, what that means is we're not going to have multiple addresses that we need to enter. But be ready and set some time aside to do the fact find. Don't wait until you have everything. So, quite often, someone talks to me, they'll not get back to me, about 2 weeks later, I'll follow up with them and they say, oh, well, I'm waiting for this one document. I'll ask them, what documents do you have? And they'll run through a list of the documents they do have, but they're just waiting on one. Best advice, the documents that you do have, provide those documents. Whatever you're waiting on, then you can get that at a later date. But as I said, 15 to 30 minutes, you should be able to do everything because everything that you're asked for is usually available online. Only send what is asked for. I have clients who quite frequently think they're doing me a favor by sending an additional 3 months bank statement. So I've asked for three, they send me six. Only send any broker that you work with what you're asked for. If you're not asked for it, don't send it. And what you are asked for, send it as requested. Don't figure you know better. The reason for this is A, if you want your mortgage to move quickly, then most brokers have a process. They have a way that they do things. So they're going to only ask you for things that they need. If you send them additional things, it makes more work, it slows down the process. B, always listen to how they've asked for the document. So if they've asked you for 3 months, send them 3 months. Don't send them 2.5 months. And you do need to send a statement and not transactions when it comes to bank statements. Pay attention to detail. So read the communications that the broker sends to you and the solicitor sends you. Read it. If you don't understand it, read it again. If you still don't understand it, speak to your broker. They can assist you. And always follow up. I'm not necessarily saying follow up with me as the broker, but always follow up with the counsel. If there's a document that's taking too long, or there's something that you think you should have and you don't, follow up with the counsel because especially if you applied before November of 2024 and you have a huge discount, if you miss the deadlines, you could actually end up missing out on that huge discount. My name's Anthony Lindsay, and I'm here to support you through the mortgage process. I don't give legal advice, tax advice, or financial advice. Instead, I talk through products, that are related to mortgages that you can understand them better. I'm not an online influencer, so yes, my videos are a little bit longer because I like to explain in detail everything about the mortgage process. And these videos are always a response to the questions that people ask me regularly. So I will send my clients copies of these videos that they can go through the video and understand the process in their own time. So they can watch the video multiple times if they need to. If you like this video, or even if you don't, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share it with friends and family, and tell people that there is information out there from a reputable, honest mortgage broker. Even if they don't end up working with me, at least they'll understand the process a little bit better. Our first mortgage meeting. I'll be right back and I'm going to talk you through what our very first meeting looks like, what you need to do, what to expect, and how to ensure that you get the very best rate when you're getting your mortgage. If you found me online, if you've been referred to me by a friend or family member, or if you've seen me speak at an event, you'll know that I speak a lot about how fast I work. But I don't replace quality for speed. I always make sure that we give you the very best and most compliant service. So here's what to expect if you book an appointment with me. First and foremost, I'll send you a link to the Homebuyer app. The Homebuyer app is where you'll be able to submit your information and complete the fact find. Don't send me emails. Don't send me WhatsApp. Make sure that all of your personal and confidential details are sent or uploaded to the app. On the very first conversation, what I'm going to do within the first 7 minutes is make sure that structurally I can support you. If the numbers don't stack up, I'm not going to waste your time. And I will always be completely honest with you and I'll give you a way forward. So if let's just say you're applying for a council right to buy or you're a first time buyer and you don't have the income to support that application, I will be upfront and honest with you. During the conversation, I'm going to ask you the key questions: how much you make, what your visa status is, do you have any credit issues? I'm also going to understand how much you have for a deposit. If it's a right to buy purchase, then you don't necessarily need to have a cash deposit because you can use the discount. So I'm going to ask you those key questions. If it's a first time purchase, or if even if it is a right to buy, you're also going to need to know the property price. The property price is vital. Without the property price, we can't understand or calculate the affordability. Have the answers ready. Know the house price. When you speak to me on the very first call, it's about us getting to know each other. It's about me understanding if I can get you a mortgage. And once we get to the point where we feel, based on the information that you've given me, that we can get you a mortgage, I'm actually going to show you the mortgage offers that are out there based on the information that you've given me. I'll go through rate, I'll go through terms, I'll go through monthly payments, but I am going to ask you what your budget is, because what you feel you can afford as a monthly repayment is something that I will want to work around. There are instances where it's clear that I can get the person a mortgage, but their personal budget is lower than what we'd be able to do based on their age or based on their credit profile. But the bottom line is, on the very first call with me, I'll establish how much of a mortgage I can get for you and what the next steps are. After that, I'll send you a checklist. I'll send you a full step by step overview of the process, and I'll also introduce you to a solicitor. So the very first call is going to give you all the answers that you need. And that's usually the bit that causes the problem, because people contact me thinking they won't be able to get a mortgage. And when I tell them that they do, they're in disbelief. So when you reach out to me, make sure that you're prepared for the first appointment. Be open, be honest, share information, and make sure that you ask any questions that you need answered. My name's Anthony Lindsay. I'm a qualified mortgage broker with over 30 years of finance experience. I pride myself in top quality service, and I make sure that I move quickly. So make sure you move quickly and give me the things that I need in order to be able to answer your questions. I'm going to be right back, and I'm also going to talk you through what it looks like for a person doing a remortgage or someone with a set of needs that are a little bit more complex. After 30 years of helping people in finance and supporting people with getting mortgages, there's a lot that I do know. And this is one of the benefits of working with me specifically as a mortgage broker, because I'll be able to give you a broad set of information to support you to not only get the mortgage, but get the very best mortgage that you qualify for. If you've been introduced to me by a friend or a family member, it's because they know that I do a great job. Our first mortgage meeting, if you're doing a mortgage or a remortgage, will be a little bit different. The first thing that you want to understand is I move quickly. I don't separate speed and quality. I make sure that I do a quality job really fast. Be prepared for the first meeting. Make sure you understand how much your current mortgage is outstanding, what the interest rate is, what the early repayment charges are, if any. When you're doing a remortgage, the process takes about 4 weeks. A lot of those delays, if there are any, are caused by us not having the right documents. So if you're doing a remortgage and you've reached out to me for a remortgage prior to our first call, you will receive an invitation to the Home Buyers app. The Home Buyers app is where you'll upload all of your documents. Don't email them or WhatsApp them. Upload them to the portal. The great thing about the portal is once the deal is complete, you can access your documents. So if you're doing something in the future and you need a copy of your mortgage offer or your mortgage acceptance letter, you'll be able to access those things from the portal. Make sure you understand if you want to release equity or if you're just doing a straight remortgage. And a lot of times, in a lot of cases, if you have outstanding debt, let's just say the credit cards or personal loans, and you're remortgaging, it might be a great time to release some equity and pay off those debts. Remember, if you do a consolidation loan, you're not borrowing more money. You're just taking the money that you already owe and putting it on a lower interest rate with flexibility. When you're remortgaging, the first thing that I'll do is I'll have a conversation with you about what the new offer that you've been given by your lender is. So, usually 3 to 6 months prior to the expiration date of your current deal, you'll get a letter from the lender. They'll offer you a new rate or a new product or a conversation about a new rate or a new product, or you'll go on what's called the standard variable rate. So I will need to understand what the new rate that they've offered you is, because that's what I need to beat. And here's a caveat, and this is something that a lot of mortgage brokers won't tell you. If you're remortgaging and your current lender has offered you a rate, unless the new rate that you're going to get is way better, it's usually cheaper to stay with your current lender unless you're releasing equity. But if you're just doing a like for like remortgage, and let's just say you're on X point one and you're not happy with that, unless the new deal, the new bank is going to offer you a considerably better rate, 1 point something better, it's usually going to be cheaper to stay with your current lender. And here's why. When you're doing the remortgage and going to a different lender, you're going to pay broker fee, valuation fee, solicitor's fees. You're going to pay all of these fees. Plus, there's a lot of friction. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. So between the time, the inconvenience, and the money, it may make more sense to just stay with your current lender. Now, if you are releasing additional equity, it's sometimes better to go with another lender. But either way, I'm going to need to understand what your current lender is offering you. That way I can beat it. If I'm unable to beat it, I'll be honest, and you'll have the math to demonstrate why staying with your current lender is actually better than moving to another lender. Hopefully, you found the information that I've shared with you very helpful. If you want to book an appointment with me, or if you've already booked an appointment with me and you have questions, you can always reach out. I'm a real person. I'm not just someone who makes short 15-second TikTok videos with really provocative themes. Instead, what I do is I explain mortgages, I explain remortgages, I explain bridging loans and different parts of finance. After 30 years of working in the industry, there's lots of hints and tips that I can share with you to make sure that you stay compliant, make sure that you get the very best mortgage that you qualify for. Because as they say, your home could be repossessed if you don't keep up the repayments on your mortgage. So it's important to get the right mortgage the first time. Speak to a broker first. Always speak to your broker first. Don't go in some chat group and ask questions that are very general and vague questions and go on the advice that some no name person who probably isn't qualified has given you. Always speak to a broker first, because we'll be able to talk you through what's out there based on your individual circumstances. Brokers work with multiple lenders, and therefore you'll have more options. So you might be a skilled worker visa holder, or a contractor, or self-employed for less than 3 years. Regardless of your circumstances, most brokers are going to have a lender who specializes in that particular thing. But always remember that the rate reflects the risk. The rate reflects the risk. And what that means is, if you do have some complex income structure or poor credit or something that's going to mean that the high street lenders cannot lend to you, and you go to a specialist lender, the rate is going to reflect the risk. So you can't have lots of different challenges and complex needs and compare what rate you get to what the high street bank is given to their top tier vanilla clients. We guide you through the process. A mortgage broker is going to do Saturday morning appointments, evening appointments, and is going to be there when you need them. So speaking to a mortgage broker is going to not only give you more choice, but it's going to give you more support. Yes, we do charge. Most mortgage brokers are going to charge a fee. We are licensed professionals. Just like your solicitor charges a fee, your mortgage broker is going to charge a fee. Your mortgage broker works for you. And if you're a first time buyer, I would definitely say, I mean, everyone should go to a mortgage broker, but specifically as a first time buyer, because a lot of the questions you're going to have, only a broker is really going to answer those questions for you as part of their service. A bank is just going to essentially find you the product, hand it over to you, and the rest is on you. A mortgage broker is going to give you a high level of support that you can make the best choices. And also, they're going to be there that you can ask questions, because as a first time buyer, you'll probably have quite a few questions. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I make these videos to give you the information you need to be an informed buyer. Financial advice is very unique to each individual. So don't get your financial, legal, or tax advice off YouTube or ChatGPT. Always speak to a licensed professional who you know and trust. If you don't trust your broker, or you don't feel that you can be open with them, then you're talking to the wrong person. Be open, be honest, explain your circumstances, explain anything that may be concerning you, because they will be able to match you with the right lender based on your needs. Hopefully, you found this useful. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you share it with friends and family. Anyone you know who wants to increase their financial literacy, doesn't want to be pressured, doesn't want hacks or tricks that will later on get them in trouble. Someone who wants just true information that they can go and test. And even if you don't end up working with me, then when you speak to your mortgage broker, you can compare the information that I've given to what they are telling you. I would say, don't pay a mortgage broker in advance. Don't pay for services that have not yet been rendered, and make sure that they're there to answer the questions that you have. If you have a question, or if you'd like to book an appointment, please use the QR code. And remember, I'm a real person, so you can call me. My phone number is in the slide. And if you'd like to book an appointment, just check the comments. I do have a link to my appointment booking system, and you'll be speaking to me. This is not a lead funnel. I am a real person, so you can reach out to me. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. That tells YouTube that you're interested in what I'm saying and you'd like for me to make more videos, if you have a topic that you'd like for me to discuss, make sure you put that in the comments and make sure that you, before you proceed with getting a mortgage, speak to a licensed professional, and your home may be at risk if you don't keep up the repayments on your mortgage.